Hare Krishna everyone, welcome back to the reading of Dialectic, Spiritualism, Vedic Views on Western Philosophy by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. This is Chapter 6, Thomas Aquinas, and we are Shravanam Diaries podcast. I'm your host, Sulalita Devidasi. Let's start. Thomas Aquinas, 1225 to 1274, was the leading Christian philosopher of the Middle Ages. He led an austere life as a celibate monk, writing prolifically, and teaching widely. Here, Srila Prabhupada explains that while many of his ideas agree with the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita and other Vedic literatures, his claim that God created the universe out of nothing is untenable. Disciple. Thomas Aquinas compiled the entire church doctrine in Summa Theologia, which constitutes the official philosophy of the Roman Catholic Church. Aquinas did not make Augustine's sharp distinction between the material and spiritual worlds, or between secular society and the city of God. For him, both material and spiritual creations have their origin in God. At the same time, he admits that the spiritual world is superior to the material. Srila Prabhupada. When we speak of material world, we refer to that which is temporary. Some philosophers, like the Mayavadis, claim that the material world is false, but we Vaishnavas prefer to say that it is temporary or illusory. It is a reflection of the spiritual world, but in itself it has no reality. We therefore sometimes compare the material world to a mirage in the desert. In the material world there is no happiness, but the transcendental bliss and happiness existing in the spiritual world are reflected here. Unintelligent people chase after this illusory happiness, forgetting the real happiness that is in spiritual life. Disciple. Aquinas agreed that both the statements of Anselm and Abelard, quote, "I believe in order that I may understand," and, quote, "I understand in order that I may believe," unquote. Thus, reason and revelation complement one another as a means to truth. Srila Prabhupada. Since human reason is not perfect, revelation is also needed. The truth is attained through logic, philosophy, and revelation. According to the Vaishnava tradition, we arrive at the truth through the Guru, the spiritual master, who is accepted as the representative of the absolute truth, the personality of Godhead. He transmits the knowledge, the message of the truth, because he has seen the absolute truth through the disciplic succession. If we accept the bona fide spiritual master and please him by submissive service, by virtue of his mercy and pleasure, we can understand God and the spiritual world by revelation. Therefore, every day we offer our respects to the spiritual master with this prayer: Yasya prasadat bhagavat prasado, yasya prasadan nagati kutopi, dhyayan stuvamstasya yashastri sandhyam, vande guru shri charanaravindam. Quote, by the mercy of the spiritual master, one receives the benediction of Krishna. Without the grace of the spiritual master, one cannot make any advancement. Therefore, I should always remember and praise the spiritual master, offering respectful obeisances unto his lotus feet at least 3 times a day. Unquote, Sri Guruvashtaka 8. We can understand God if we please the spiritual master, who carries the Lord's message without speculation. It is stated, Sevon mukhe hijihvadau svayam eva spuratyada. Padma Purana. When we engage our senses in the Lord's service, the Lord reveals himself. Disciple. For Aquinas, God is the only single essence that consists of pure form. He felt that matter is only a potential, and in order to be real, must assume a certain shape or form. In other words, the living entity has to acquire an individual form in order to actualize himself. When matter unites with form, the form gives individuality and personality. Srila Prabhupada. Matter in itself has no form. It is the spirit soul that has form. Matter is a covering for the actual form of the spirit soul. Because the soul has form, matter appears to have form. Matter is like cloth that is cut to fit the body. In the spiritual world, however, everything has form, God and the spirit souls. Disciple. Aquinas believed that only God and the angels have non-material form. There is no difference between God's form and God's spiritual self. Srila Prabhupada. Both the individual souls and God have form. That is real form. Material form is but a covering for the spiritual body. Disciple. Aquinas set forth 5 basic arguments for God's existence. First, God necessarily exists as the first cause. Second, the material world cannot create itself, but needs something external or spiritual to create it. Third, because the world exists, there must be a creator. Fourth, since there is relative perfection in the world, there must be absolute perfection underlying it. And fifth, since the creation has design and purpose, there must be a designer who planned it. Srila Prabhupada. We also honor these arguments. Also, without a father and mother, children cannot be brought into existence. Modern philosophers do not consider this strongest argument. According to the Brahma Samhita, everything has a cause, and God is the ultimate cause. Jai. God is the ultimate cause. Ishvarah Paramah Krishnah Satchit Ananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govinda Sarvakaranakaranam. Quote, Krishna, who is known as Govinda, is the supreme controller. He has an eternal, blissful, spiritual body. He is the origin of all. He has no other origin because he is the prime cause of all causes. Unquote, Brahma Samhita 5.1. Disciple. Augustine also states that the relative perfection we find here necessitates an absolute perfection. Srila Prabhupada. Yes, the spiritual world is absolute perfection, and this temporary world is but a reflection of that spiritual world. Whatever perfection we find in this material world is derived from the spiritual world. Janmadyasya yataha. According to the Vedanta Sutra, whatever is generated comes from the absolute truth. Disciple. Today some scientists even admit Aquinas' argument that since nothing can create itself in this material world, something external or spiritual is required for initial creation. Srila Prabhupada. Yes, a mountain cannot create anything, but a human being can give form to a stone. A mountain may be very large, but it remains a stone, incapable of giving shape to anything. Disciple. Unlike Plato and Aristotle, Aquinas maintained that God created the universe out of nothing. Srila Prabhupada. No. The universe is created by God, certainly, but God and His energies are always there. You cannot logically say that the universe was created out of nothing. Disciple. Aquinas would contend that since the material universe could not have arisen out of God's spiritual nature, it had to be created out of nothing. Srila Prabhupada. Material nature is also an energy of God's. As Krishna states in the Bhagavad Gita, Bhumi rapo nalo vayu kam mano bodhir evacha ahankaraitiyam me bhinna prakritirashtadha. Quote, earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. Altogether, these 8 constitute my separated material energies. Unquote. Bhagavad Gita 7.4. All of these energies emanate from God, and therefore they are not unreal. They are considered inferior because they are God's separated material energies. The sound that comes from a tape recorder may sound exactly like the original person's voice. The sound is not the person's voice itself, but it has come from the person. If one cannot see where the sound is coming from, one may suppose that the person is actually speaking, although the person may be far away. Similarly, the material world is an expansion of the Supreme Lord's energy, and we should not think that it has been brought into existence out of nothing. It has emanated from the absolute supreme truth, but it is the inferior, separated energy. The superior energy is found in the spiritual world, which is the world of reality. In any case, we cannot agree that the material world has come from nothing. Disciple: well, Aquinas would say that it was created by God out of nothing. Srila Prabhupada: you cannot say that God's energy is nothing. His energy is exhibited and is eternally existing with Him. Isn't it? God's energy must be there. If God doesn't have energy, how can He be God? Natasya karyam karanam cha vidyate natat samascha vyadhikascha drishyate parasya shaktir vividhaiva shruyate svabhaviki jnana bala kriya cha. Quote: the Supreme Lord has no duty to perform, and no one is found to be equal to or greater than Him, since everything is done naturally and systematically by His multifarious energies. Unquote. Shvetashvatara Upanishad 6.8. God has multi-energies, and the material energy is but one. Since God is everything, you cannot say that the material universe comes from nothing. Jai. We're going to stop here for today, and tomorrow we shall read furthermore what Aquinas had to say about God and God's grace. So thank you so much for tuning in today. The link to this book is in the description. Please check out our website, shravanamdiaries.com. Read along with us, share with your friends, and we shall see you next time. Hare Krishna.